All right, go.
Hey, my name is Julian Schock. I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh for about 15 years. Um, I started playing as a young kid, got into tournament play probably about the age of 13. Started doing major regionals, everything at 16. President of my Yu-Gi-Oh club in college for a couple years. Shout out Ball State Cardinals. And today I'm going to show you guys a anti-meta stun deck. So first, we're going to start with the monster lineup. 3 copies of Gren Manju. He's kind of the big hitter in the deck. A lot of this deck based around banishing cards, so this card ends up stacking up quite a lot of attack pretty early on. Next, we're just going to kind of go into some of the hand traps. 3 Ash Blossom for Ash Blossom related things, and an Effect Veiler. I'm only keeping on the 1 Effect Veiler right now, and the reason for that is because of this card, Inspector Border. 3 copies of him. He does a lot of heavy lifting for the deck, mainly by stunning the opponent for several turns. A lot of the cards that we use in this deck don't have activated effects that are used regularly, so Inspector Border does not really hinder this deck at all. You can still effectively play. An important thing to note in this meta, with a Call by the Grave being hit down by 1, is that it stops all hand traps and really slows down a lot of the counterplay that opponents are going to be trying to plan up. After that, we're running 2 Gizmek Orochis. The main purpose is that he banishes 8 cards to summon him. So it's extra banish to pump up your Gren. He's also just a big monster. It is important to note that to use his destruction effect once per turn, it does require a banishing from the extra deck, which we will also kind of touch into that resource a lot. So sometimes its removal effect is not as active as it could be. After that, 1 Eater of Millions. It's also just another banish target, helps get Gren a little bit bigger. Gets over a lot of stuff just by banishing stuff face down. It becomes a little bit of a troublesome monster that the opponent has to waste some resources on. And in a deck that's kind of a resource game, Eater of Millions just kind of absorbs that. After that, tech choice, Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. If the opponent goes first, he is a really good card to kind of slap on board early game. The effect to be able to discard to protect against targeted removal is mainly used to kind of protect the other like monsters that you'll put on board, like Eater of Millions, Gizmek, Gren. But also just that sweet 2400 attack is just to kind of help protect board. Okay. After that, we're going to go into our spell lineup. It's important to note that the spell lineup in this deck is mainly to draw. You need to get your Inspector Borders ASAP. You need to get your Grens ASAP. So, we run 3 Pod Duality. We do not really special summon during our turn besides Eater of Millions. Gizmek Orochi can be special summoned during the opponent's turn, and it's a quick effect, so you can play around it if you pick it up with Duality. After that, 3 Pod of Desires. Banish 10 cards, draw 2. Banish 10 cards, draw 2. So that's just it's 4K. Then we run 2 Pot of Extrav. Banish like 3 to 6 cards from the extra deck to draw another 2. It does kind of slow down your other draw cards, so Pot of Desires isn't active, but you can still use Duality in the same turn because Duality adds as opposed to drawing. After that, we main deck 3 Cosmic Cyclones. Since this deck plays very Glass Cannon-like and aims to kind of push game really early on, you need to make sure the opponent does not have any back row that can stun you. So Cosmic Cyclone, we're running 3 of. After that, 1 Called by the Grave, just because we're stuck with just 1 left. In the opportunities that hand traps are being played, you can kind of stun that 1 hand trap. Also, given the other fact that you can just, if the opponent's playing multiple of something, you can still just get that single negate. Trap lineup. So the trap lineup of the deck is very heavy. Think of your life points strictly as a resource. You're not really trying to get hit for any attacks. You're mainly trying to stun the opponent out. Your ending game's quick, so you're not trying to take battle damage. So we run 3 Solemn Judgments, 3 Solemn Strikes, 3 Solemn Warnings, the full brigade. We're stunning and we're trying to hit for damage really fast. So you're just making sure that they can't play stuff. They can't establish a board. If they are establishing board, you're blocking out the really big stuff so they can't hit you with anything big. After that, we're main decking 2 There Can Only Be Ones. A really good card. This deck does not have very much overlap in the types besides Inspector Border. Inspector Border and Gizmak are both machines, and then Gren and Eater of a Millions are both fiends. But typically you're not really playing a really big board. You're probably only having 1 or 2 of each. Most likely your field is going to be Inspector Border followed by Gren. So There Can Only Be One does not really disrupt you all too much. The other card is Different Dimension Ground. This card is mainly used to kind of counter against decks that are going to be dumping a lot. You want to make sure that they can't keep combo extending if they're going, if they end up trying to play pass. This is also a tech choice, and I'll kind of show you kind of why some of the stuff that we cite out. So the extra deck really doesn't matter because you're not really touching into your extra deck. You really don't want to summon extra deck monsters while you have Inspector Border on board because that gives both players negates and gives them monster effects to work off of. I just kind of run generic stuff because I have no intentions of going into my extra deck with how much you banish to summon stuff and activate cards. But I do highly recommend that with the prevalence of Dogmatica in this meta, that you pick up a couple copy of Nitesse just to act as an extra removal when they try to go into Maximus if you see it. Side deck. The side deck is pretty simple and straightforward. You're mainly going to be siding particularly just against what you're playing. So for the side deck, we have 2 Dark Bribes. When the opponent realizes that you run a very trap-heavy deck, they're going to side in Cyclones or some other removal. Dark Bribe is for that. Dark Bribe also stops the Red Eyes Fusion and the Invocations. Storming Mirror Force, just to kind of bounce back board. If you're playing against a deck that throws a lot of stuff on board really quickly, this is just a great card to side in. Grand Horn of Heaven, very underrated card in this meta. When the opponent does anything like a Synchro or an Xyz or a Link Summon, negates it, they draw a card, ends the main phase. It makes it so the opponent can't combo extend anymore during the main phase. If it's in main phase 2, it just ends their turn, which is pretty great. 2 Crackdowns. There are decks here and there that mainly based around summoning 1 big monster and then protecting said big monster. Crackdowns to take that. If you don't like There Can Only Be One, I highly recommend Summon Limit. Both players can only summon twice per turn. You're really only summoning once a turn. You're not really summoning more than twice ever unless you actually plan on going into the extra deck often. So Summon Limit just hinders a lot of decks. Completely shuts down combo decks. Goes in Match, just another thing. If their opponent is a deck that just goes really wide with various attributes, just shuts it down. 2 of the Kaiju. We're mainly running the Kaiju for also additional hate against Dragoon. Dragoon is a deck that really shuts this deck down. It gets really difficult to get over, but if they play around all your negates and everything. So this is just kind of to get over it. And then lastly, we run 1 additional There Can Only Be One. If you find yourself in an opportunity where you kind of want to main deck a 3rd one and just get it more consistently, that's why we have the 3rd one. Now, for side deck choices in between games, the cards that we have that typically get sided out is Fan Maze, Grounds, and There Can Only Be Ones. Sometimes you'll take out 1 or 2 Cosmic Cyclones, depending on the matchup. But this is enough space that you can kind of side into what you're playing against and comfortably be able to do the rest of what you need to do. Everything else is kind of essential to the gameplay of the deck. So really, like, if this stuff is not disrupting the opponent to the way that you please, these are kind of the cards that you're mainly going to side out. So that's what I'm currently running. It is mainly based on pumping out a lot of damage really fast on the opponent. If you try it out, let me know. Let me see if you end up making a card choices or text yourself. And yeah, so with that, good game.